think it's time we had a conversation about Tesla, or the big elephant in the room. So here's the thing. Tesla has been around for quite some time, and I think it's time we had a discussion about the direction of the company. What's up, guys? My name is Chris, and welcome to The Breakdown, where we talk about everything cars news and reviews. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. Just recently, Tesla has announced very loudly that they would be canceling their affordable model. Now, if you don't know anything about Tesla, Tesla has been considered to be the king of EVs for at least the last decade. I'm going to go on a rant and say that Elon Musk probably put some little juju in the EV sauce to make it all work, but that's neither here nor there. But the history of Tesla and the legacy of Tesla precedes itself, and for a lot of people, they absolutely pawn over the idea of having one. And that brings me to my point. In this video, I will be discussing not just Tesla, but more importantly, where they have been and where they are going now, especially with the new introduction of the Chinese company, which is BYD. So with that being said, stick around and stay tuned because you are now watching The Breakdown. Okay, so I'm not going to hold y'all too long, but for those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Chris. I have been in the automotive industry probably roughly around 14 years at this point. And so it is very important that you know before you start watching this that I give a lot of historical context to whatever I'm talking about. Apparently somebody had a problem with that in the comment section. So I know y'all like the Tesla, so I just want to let you know I tussle back. But I felt it was important to let you guys know and disclose how this typically works. So in case y'all get y'all's panties in a bunch, just let y'all know I'm a little long-winded, okay? So as far as Tesla goes, Tesla has been around for at least 20 years, since 2003. Created by Marc Tarpenning and Martin Eberhard, the two engineers basically wanted to create a method of new vehicle for the new age and something that nobody had ever done before. And electric vehicles have been around for at least the last 100 years, barely getting beat out by the internal combustion engine historically, but we won't go into that. So between 2003 and 2005, they worked super hard, and then that's later when Elon Musk would later come on to become one of the board members and kind of help push the brand along, which he at the time was also managing PayPal. Shortly thereafter, around 2008 is when we begin to see the first concept. So at the time, EVs nobody had ever thought about, but this couldn't have been any more terrible timing, as this was also around the time of the housing crisis of 2008. The problem with that is that whenever there is a historical currency crisis, whatever kind of crisis you want to call it, basically everybody reels back their money, and investors do not like the look of the current scenario, so they end up kind of turning off the water faucet. And so because of that, Elon Musk would eventually take over Tesla as the new CEO and basically designate himself as the end-all be-all of Tesla. If you know anything about Tesla during that time, the whole point of Tesla was to be able to create an affordable electric vehicle for all people. They were always going to create affordable vehicles. But what we didn't expect was that between the time of 2008 and 2012, that the Tesla brand would absolutely skyrocket with the introduction of the Model S. The Model S is an important ass vehicle for this entire timeline. One of the things that made the Model S so important is that it was technologically advanced. At the time, the Model S got the 99 out of 100 from Consumer Reports. Regardless of how you feel about Consumer Reports and their metrics, they are very, very reputable in what they do, and they go through extreme testing to make sure that they give their consumers the best opinions for car research. But at that time, the Tesla S at the time was unseen and unprecedented, and there was nothing that could be done to stop this juggernaut. The Model S came with a 670 dual electric motor that basically went from 0 to 60 roughly in around 2.8 seconds, somewhere in there. I don't have the specifics right now. I didn't really feel like looking them up, but I'm telling you right now, it was fucking fast. And so when it came out in 2012, this shook the industry. This really changed a lot of how a lot of legacy automakers saw themselves, because nobody took Tesla seriously at first. And being that Tesla is by design a technological electric company, Tesla absolutely changed the way that we see vehicles today. In addition to the Model S, there was also a bigger model in the pipeline, which there are currently 4 models in the Tesla lineup that I'm aware of, next to the new Roadster and Cybertruck that are coming out, which is the Model S, Model 3, the Model X, and the Model Y, two of which being some of Tesla's biggest selling vehicles. The Model 3, when it came out roughly around 2016, 2017, was probably the biggest hit to the automotive industry and kind of began the wave of the electrification model, because even though there were other electric vehicle companies, none of them were doing it like Tesla. Tesla during this period up until recently had roughly about 80% of the market share, as opposed to now where they currently have about 55%. But even still, that means that 1 out of 2 electric vehicles is probably a Tesla product. But when the Model 3 came out, it was the worst thing that could have happened to luxury manufacturers, particularly because it gave you all of the torque and all of the power that came with a traditional luxury maker such as Mercedes and BMW, but also gave you the technological advancements we're accustomed to seeing with such people such as Hyundai and Kia. And I know that sounds crazy to put those two together, but hold on. Hold on. I'm gonna meet you in just a moment. But the Model 3 was unseen. In fact, when it first debuted in its first week of pre-orders, roughly around $7.65 billion went into its pre-orders, and it had absolutely shifted the way that Elon saw the Tesla brand. I don't think it changed the way he saw the Tesla brand, but it definitely had them shook. Now, currently right now, between the Model S and the Model 3, they're probably two of the biggest numbers. Now, the Model Y is also a very, very popular one. I think the one that sells the least is the Model X. But overall, the 3 cars out of 4 next to the Cybertruck have truly changed the landscape of electric vehicles. In fact, the Tesla brand was so potent and so powerful that the United States government found a way to elect them as the national charging standard for all electric vehicles going forward. Now, I have my own marks and thoughts about this, but that's besides the point. In the time period of the 2016-2017 debut of the Model 3 up until now, Tesla has stood on business, okay? Nobody has done it quite like Tesla, but here comes in the problem. There are a few things that are going wrong with Tesla, and I want to take a look into them because I think it's important when we kind of give the pros and cons. So, Elon as a CEO, regardless of how you feel about him, has truly understood the power of branding. We'll put it that way. And so Tesla has really changed the landscape, and they have set the precedent for many other manufacturers such as Hyundai, such as Ford, such as many of these other legacy manufacturers to basically be able to give the masses an affordable and fun style vehicle. But here's the kicker. So as Tesla rose to fame, so did its share prices. Anytime you involve share prices, it always gets a little complicated. And so in this new sense, we are beginning to see where Tesla is beginning to lose its electric vehicle market. And one of the biggest things that happens with the electric vehicle sector is that we kind of ran into it a bit too fast. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give y'all this much. I personally enjoy internal combustion engines, and I have to put those disclosures in there because y'all like to twist my words a little bit. I personally believe that we will probably go hybrid before we go electric vehicles. Now, if you aren't aware of the new incoming situation with Tesla, is that they have scrapped their entry-level model, which was supposed to be the Model 2. The Model 2 was supposed to be a $25,000 model that was supposed to be the entry point into Tesla's repertoire for all intents and purposes, and pretty much give them some level of entryway for younger buyers. But part of the reason this is because BYD has completely changed the way that a lot of electric vehicles have been consumed, especially in China. One of the things that Tesla has, unlike many other car companies, is that they are modeled differently in that they don't have dealerships. The sales are pretty much direct to consumers, and that can really change the way that customers experience the car. But Teslas have never been cheap. From the Model S up until the Model 3, you can very well expect to be upwards of $50,000 to $75,000 before you start adding add-ons. Part of the reason why BYD has done so much better than Tesla in recent days is because they have affordable vehicles just as effective and basically use a similar style network. And in case you weren't aware, BYD has also been backed by Warren Buffett, which we all know what happens when Mr. Buffett decides he wants to invest in something.
Sir, the actors are here to audition for the part of you. Excellent.
It usually blows up. And so basically between BYD and the consumer demand kind of dwindling down shortly thereafter, 2020, we begin to see Tesla really going through some struggles. One of the biggest struggles that Tesla has had in the last couple of years is not only maintaining the demand for EVs, but more importantly, kind of giving consumers something to look forward to. Elon, as a CEO, regardless of how you feel about it, is that he is going to make decisions that he feels is best for the company. One of the biggest things to hurt Tesla in recent days has been the aggressive price cuts. Of course, in contrast to BYD, the pricing seems like a good idea. The problem is that electric vehicles have been marked up significantly and have not exactly been the most pleasant experience for those people who own electric vehicles without homes. Range anxiety is a real thing. More importantly, the electric vehicle cost of ownership is relatively low after you buy the car, but you have to buy the car. And BYD has mastered the production of giving cheap, affordable electric vehicles with the same level of experience you would ordinarily get. And I say all that to say is that because Elon has tried to keep up with the market, because it is incredibly difficult to sell to consumers with a higher price tag, he's aggressively slashed the prices, and that is because of their model. The problem is that because many people have bought their cars significantly higher prices, once those prices have come down, so do the values of those cars. There are many consumers who have complained that while they enjoy the Tesla experience, they do not necessarily enjoy trading the car in or selling it because they've taken a massive loss due to those price cuts. Another thing that has happened is that somehow, some way, the hype and the excitement of Tesla has dwindled down as many other manufacturers have kind of caught up to the bullshit. One of them being Mercedes-Benz, who recently was announced as the world's most valuable brand after outpacing Tesla once again in recent years. And Mercedes-Benz has been working very promptly to be the best of the best once again, especially as they have some stake in the EV transition, which of course we all know has been a bit of a problem. But the sale to say is that Tesla, being the brand that it is, has slowly begun to die in popularity. And another reason is because of Elon has a bit of an overpromising problem. Let me explain. The other thing that we have seen with Tesla as a brand is that it began to be a little oversaturated. While it was always supposed to be an affordable model, it didn't quite show itself to be the best model to fleet out. And once they began their situation with Hertz, and once they begin to become fleeted vehicles, they now are slowly becoming the Nissan Altima of the group, which basically means that anybody and everybody can have one, somewhat lowering their prestige. And I hate to put it to y'all like this, but ew.
Brother, what's that?
And one of the reasons why we are also seeing a lot of the devaluing and debranding of Tesla is because a lot of the incentive money that was initially rolled out as government subsidies has slowly dwindled as they have produced more and more models. And in this particular instance, Tesla has become so popular that they have outpaced the tax credit. And of course, because they've outpaced the tax credit, they now have to focus on how they can get their pricing lower. The problem is that now a lot of those cars have become devalued as a result. And so Tesla is in a current state where they truly do not understand how they are going to navigate themselves forward. But a lot of the infrastructure for EVs is just simply not well laid out. And being that Tesla is at the forefront of the electric vehicle space, they kind of have this unfair advantage, and I feel like they're probably superseding the competition, but almost like it's a supernova that almost imploded in itself because they have way too much power in what they're able to do and what they can do with their vehicles. But I say all of that to say is that Tesla is in a very strange place. Now, what do I think they can do about it? I do believe that Tesla can bounce back if they come up with a few more models. But right now, they only have 438 stores and 100 service centers across basically a spectrum. But the intent for Tesla is not to have a lot of service centers, as they are essentially low maintenance for all intents and purposes. But one of the biggest controversies that has come up with Tesla is that they are a company that produces a lot more CO2 than we have been led on to believe. Back in 2023, there was a study done on the emissions of the CO2 from electric vehicles. And while it was an average of 2.5 million CO2 units, Tesla was found to have roughly 30.7 million tons of CO2 emissions, which is significantly different than what they first told us. And now that calls into question the integrity of building these Teslas to be able to say whether or not they are truly good for the environment. And whether you believe it or not, climate change is a real thing. I'm seeing more bugs. I'm nervous. But in truth, I believe that if Tesla can find a way to offset a lot of their cost and revenue through a more sustainable model, I do believe that they can pretty much find themselves out of this funky situation and really study BYD and what they're doing so that they can kind of mirror those strategies and see how they can better themselves as a company. But you guys let me know what you think about that, because I think that Tesla is in a really, really interesting place, and this is a very make or break point for them. And I tend to be right about these kind of things. And by the way, let me know in the comments if you've ever had a Tesla. I would love to hear your experience. But what do you think Tesla should do? Do you think that they should continue to go on the route that they are? Or do you think that Tesla should focus on other things? But with that being said, until the next video, I will see you guys later.